Hey there, and welcome to GamePoints, our weekly little get-together. We talk about the past week in gaming news. I am, as always, your host, Stephen Brown, and joining me today is...
Oh, I'm about to sneeze, but my name is David Smith.
Thank you, David.
No problem.
Tonight, here on GamePoints episode 106, we're going to talk about PUBG's accusations against Epic Games and Fortnite about who
Blue
owns the
hole.
Battle Royale genre. We're going to get into some Tokyo Game Show announcements, specifically Left Alive, which looks fucking fantastic, if you ask
Oh
me,
yeah.
just based on the little minute trailer shown.
Just based on the information we know of the team involved.
Yeah. We're also going to talk about some somewhat breaking news earlier today. The SAG-AFTRA Strike came to a tentative end. We'll see how that
Whoa! You
shakes out
can't
and get
just
into
give
it.
away the whole fucking show, all right? You can't just say what's gonna happen. Just say we're gonna talk about the SAG-AFTRA strike and then move on.
No, but we're going to talk about like the possible resolution to it and why I don't think it's necessarily a good thing. That's what the topic's going to be about, not the information they already have coming into it. Come on, what kind of show is this? Anyways,
A lazy one?
extremely lazy one. Anyways, if you are watching us live here at Twitch TV/GamePoints, please feel free to jump in the conversation. We do try to make this a interactive show with the audience, and honestly, it's as much of a show as yours as it is ours. I'm just the gatekeeper as to what gets through. If you can't join us live every Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, tune into our YouTube page. Just type in GamePoints, one word. We pop right up. Regardless of where you're at, like, comment, subscribe, don't subscribe, dislike, whatever you want. Either way, we're good to have you. David.
Yes. Oh, if you're wondering, I accidentally left my headphones on the other side of the country. That's why I'm wearing earbuds. It's really classy.
Well done.
Thanks.
So, before we get into a deep dive on anything, I want to mention a somewhat big controversy that's happened over the past week, and one that we're not going to get too in-depth on because there are so many layers to it, we could devote the entire show to this one topic alone. I want to talk about the NBA 2K 6-access site review conundrum that happened. Essentially, a site called the 6-access reviewed NBA 2K18, and it's not good. They gave it a 3 out of 10. Now, if you don't know what is going on with NBA 2K18, it is chock full of microtransactions. I believe
Microtransactions in a basketball game?
That motherfucker. I thought he was cut from the Bulls last year, but apparently I was wrong.
Zing.
Aha. They gave it a 3 out of 10, and more or less insinuated that that review score was a protest vote against the sheer number of microtransactions that's permeating throughout that game. What happened after that was then 2K Games reached out to the 6-access saying, hey, reconsider the review score. Then the internet got a hold of this story and allegations of, hey, 2K is pressuring this site to change the review score. Matters were made worse when the 6-access actually took out the review score. They took it down. I believe it has since been put back up.
Yep.
You can, in fact, read the response to the entire thing here if you want to. I'll be sure to have this in the notes down below if you're watching this on YouTube. Long story short, this entire thing quickly became a clusterfuck, and there are so many layers to unpack on this that, as I started off with, we could spend the entire show talking about this one thing. We can talk about how NBA 2K is the way it's handling microtransactions. We can talk about if the 6-access was right or wrong in pulling the review score. We can talk about whether or not publishers should even be contacting independent sites about review scores. We can talk about if undue pressure or duress was applied. It's a very big conversation, and one that we cannot do justice unless we devote the entirety of the episode to it, and I don't want to do that.
That's fair.
But I wanted to mention it. I wanted to let the viewers know that, hey, this is a thing out there, and I will kindly direct you all to people like Sid Alpha or Jim Sterling if you want a deeper dive into what this is all about. I also just highly suggest you go read what the 6-access had to say about this entire ordeal down on their website. Once again, the link down below. As many sources as you can. Like I said, there is a lot to unpack with everything about this story.
The big thing, they made a basketball game. They filled it with microtransactions to the point that it's completely invasive, and while technically playable, it's playable like a mobile phone game.
I know that like it was things
It's
like
just everywhere. They recently changed the prices a little bit to make like changing your haircut cheaper, but you just don't earn that much of the currency. And when they did the math, you need about 200,000 of the in-game currency to reach the max player level.
and how much does that translate to real world dollars? Do you have that figure on hand?
I think it was like 200 something bucks.
For NBA 2K, okay, whatever. Anyways, we are aware of it. We know it happened. And to be blunt, I do not feel like spending 40 minutes talking about it because I could easily go on about it for 40 minutes.
That's fair.
So,
well, you could also just save yourself the trouble and buy NBA Live.
Yeah. Very true. So, anyways, I consider that topic now discussed. David, why don't you go ahead and move on to possibly that aside to the biggest story that happened last week?
All right. Well, have you ever heard of a little company called Bluehole?
No idea.
Epic Games recently got Blueholed. And that's the fact that Bluehole is the company that makes... Dude, shut up.
My dad was Blueholed Nom. You can fucking go hunt saying that shit.
Anyway, they're the guys that make PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds. You know that game that recently broke all the records on Steam for the most concurrent players because they hit like 1.3 million people playing that shit at once?
Also, a totally unique idea. No other game, book, novel, or TV series has ever put a bunch of people on one island and had them kill each other.
It's called a Battle Royale game because there's a movie called Battle Royale.
Nope.
There's also a really famous book and movie series called The Hunger Games that people tend to like.
Does not exist.
There's also the games that the people that helped make this game worked on prior to it, like the H1Z1 King of the Hill mode and fucking other Arma Battle Royale modes.
No fucking clue what you're talking about, man.
Okay, cool.
Clearly, anyway, PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds was the first game to ever have a Battle Royale mode.
All right, well, when you're done being a dick, we're going to talk about the fact that one of the PUBG developers had a press release last week expressing concern about Epic Games' Fortnite's upcoming Battle Royale mode. They are calling it that exactly. Now, one of the big concerns from the article, as I understood it, feel free to yell at me when I'm done talking, is when Epic put out their post saying, hey, we're going to add a Battle Royale mode to Fortnite, they didn't just say it like, hey, we know that this is a popular style of game. We're going to add it into our system. We think it's a good fit. They actually said something along the lines of, due to the popularity of PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, literally citing this other game, we're going to add this mode in because we think our game is a good fit, and we think that it'll be a really good version of that game. Like, directly comparing it to PUBG as a way to get people interested in it, which, I mean, that makes sense, I guess. But Chang Han Kim, who's vice president and executive producer for Bluehole, said, quote, we've had an ongoing relationship with Epic Games throughout PUBG's development, as they are the creators of Unreal Engine 4, the engine that we licensed for the game. After listening to the growing feedback from our community and reviewing the gameplay for ourselves, we are concerned that Fortnite may be replicating the experience for which PUBG is known. So they're saying basically that Epic is aping on their game that they made that's a genre. Because games are genres, and sometimes other games are also genres.
Go on and finish where you were going with this.
The big thing that made people upset was the following statement that he added, saying, quote, the PUBG community has and continues to provide evidence of the many similarities as we contemplate further action, end quote.
That's the problem right there.
This is really the part where it gets into a shit show. So I understand that they were upset about it, and I was actually totally fine with it when this article first came out, and they're just like, yeah, we feel like it's kind of a dick move. We licensed the engine from them. They already get a pretty decent cut of the game anyway, since we are paying for their engine. So, you know, when you have a publisher and developer cycle, the guys that publish it or the guys that make the engine do get a good amount of the money. So Bluehole is not making 100% of the profits from Battlegrounds, but now they're kind of in a position that Epic might not only take the original cut, but grab some more market share, I think is what their worry is.
Right. The article that I had up was from IGN. It was a opinion piece written by Alana Pierce and another gentleman whose names I forget. Once again, links will be provided down below. I can see why PUBG or Bluehole rather, might be a little miffed about this. Not so much the Battle Royale genre idea that they claim. allegedly claimed in a few of the statements they made that they owned, but more along the lines of the working relationship they already have with Epic Games. This, in fact, as the story further developed, they contacted PC Gamer to try to clarify what was going on. David, do you have that handy?
The PC Gamer article?
Yeah.
Actually, what I was looking at more earlier is the fact that I don't think they're necessarily in trouble, because this game, while it's out, it's like an early access open beta, right?
Well, they both are. Both Fortnite and PUBG are early access.
But the other challenge is that at some point, Fortnite is going to be a free-to-play game. So they might be trying to get in early enough that they can grab a good amount of these players before they go free-to-play and try and get more of that microtransaction money.
Well, I mean, it's hard to say, right? But either way, players were pissed off at Bluehole. A bunch of the bigger celebrities were kind of saying, oh, good for id Software then, because that means every first-person shooter ever made is under their umbrella now, right? But like I was mentioning, Kim did reach out to PC Gamer with an interview to try to clarify some of the stuff and try to redirect some of the anger and cool some people down real quick. Let me bring up that article right here. PUBG exec clarifies objection to Fortnite Battle Royale and says, quote, "It's not about the idea itself, it's about Epic Games." In this interview, he did go on to further say, so the first thing I'd like to clarify is that this is not about the Battle Royale game mode itself. There were other Battle Royale game modes earlier this year that were released, like Last Man Standing or GTA 5's Battle Royale game mode, and we never raised an issue. And I think that's great that there's more competition. Everyone should be able to create their own Battle Royale game mode. As you can see, he's really going hard on saying, hey, we didn't fucking say we're going to copyright Battle Royale. Because the first thing I started thinking of when I first heard the story break was back when the Fine Brothers on YouTube tried to copyright the word reacts.
No, yeah. Something
It's like,
you just can't do.
Motherfucker, you can't do that. You
also can't. I don't think they could have any claim over it whatsoever when there's a fucking movie and book series that has that exact name, not a genre.
Yeah.
That'd be like Activision in 2005 trying to copyright first-person shooter. Like, motherfuckers, you guys ain't the first and you ain't the last. Just back up.
Yeah. He went on to say it's not about the idea itself, it's about Epic Games. And then later on in the interview, he goes on to reiterate, so we just want to emphasize that this is only a problem because Epic Games is the company that makes the engine we use, and we pay a large amount of royalties to them. So that's
kind of what I'm thinking. Is they're worried that Epic is going to start getting too much of the pie. Because already they're splitting what they're making, and if they start making even less because Fortnite takes off all of a sudden, and everyone starts playing that instead, I can see them being concerned. But the other thing is that they're not even the same game.
No,
Fortnite's a fucking tower defense.
Yeah, well, the Battle Royale mode's actually kind of different, but it has a bunch of crafting stuff in there. Bluehole was also taking umbrage with the fact that Epic Games straight up in their quasi-marketing interviews for it were saying, yeah, we were influenced by PUBG. They were trying to associate this with that name.
Yeah. They wanted to give you an idea of the gameplay in a really simple fashion, which is understandable.
Yeah.
It's actually something really funny to me because it's a constant comparison to a game that I get really annoyed with when games are absolutely nothing like it. But every single game that has a moderate difficulty curve that comes out in the last 4 years is like Dark Souls.
No, fuck that. I hate that.
It's like Dark Souls, but a shooter.
Cuphead is the Dark Souls of platformers, don't you know?
Motherfuckers, it's not like Dark Souls, okay?
That is a sneaky game journalist trick designed to get SOE. You tie a popular name to an article. For example, you write an article about, well, let's use the Cuphead thing, right? You write an article about Cuphead, and then somewhere in the story you mention Dark Souls in it, because when people type in stuff on a search engine, it has a chance of possibly increasing its hits coming up.
That's why Dark Souls, and then Cuphead pops up, and you're like, why the fuck is Dark Souls coming up on Cuphead? Yeah, maybe I should check this game out.
It's a sneaky marketing trick. My two cents on this entire thing is that Bluehole overreached. They were sloppy, and it could be some translation issues. Bluehole is not, I don't believe, an English-speaking based company, so things could have been lost in translation. But when they first released this statement, they kind of went out too far to cover all their bases, and they got an immediate backlash. They went, oh shit, sorry, we didn't mean that. We're talking about Epic Games specifically. But even when you narrow it down to just Epic Games, sorry guys, Epic Games is a developer as well. They can make games too, and that sucks. That you feel that Epic Games is kind of double dipping into your profits. I would say read your contract a little bit more closely in the future. And the comparison that the Fortnite Battle Royale mode is anything beyond the basic genre comparisons between that style of game, like public player-known battlegrounds, is a total... It's bullshit. The art style is completely different. You can do things in the Fortnite Battle Royale that you can't do in PUBG. No, sorry guys, you don't have a leg to stand on here. I appreciate that you that you went out of your way to clarify what was going on, but there's still no issue here that you're trying to make out of. Sorry.
There's also the fact that we should talk about. Fortnite has sold like maybe 100,000 copies on PC.
Yeah.
It's sold almost nothing, and obviously it's an early access game. It's not actually coming out till next year. PUBG has sold like fucking 10 million copies. Has a player base of 1.5 million concurrent players, shattering like all Steam records. Like I think they'll be okay. I don't think Fortnite has it in it.
No, and the best part about all this is that all this does is enhance visibility of Fortnite.
Yeah, right? Who was paying attention to that game before this?
All of this news came out the week before Fortnite's Battle Royale goes live for everyone. Mm-hmm. Or for people who are... It's a standalone game, for the most part. Standalone mode, rather. And all this is going live this week. So, all this has done is build tons of free publicity to PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds. To Fortnite, rather. So... Bluehole complains about Fortnite being too close to PUBG. People who are kind of like wanting more PUBG experiences go, wait a minute, Fortnite? What's this game? It plays like PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, and now you've just given a shit ton of free publicity to them. Like more than even their marketing budget can afford. So congratulations, Bluehole. You Streisand effect yourself.
This podcast brought to you by Epic Games Fortnite, coming out soon. I'm just kidding. We don't give a fuck. They don't pay us enough money or any money.
Any money at all. Let's be 100% crystal clear about that. I receive no money for this show, and who
dude,
the
if
fuck
they
would
paid us
want
any
to pay?
money, I will sell like crazy. Come at me, companies.
Oh, GamePoints has a price, and it's low.
It's real low. We are cheap. We will be sponsored by anything. Fucking bring it on, Cool Whip. I don't give a shit.
So this next topic about the SAG-AFTRA Strike is brought to you by Bad Dragon.
Oh, dang. Got him.
Bad Dragon, for all of your animalistic dildo needs. So, the SAG-AFTRA
Get
Strike.
it in you.
Jesus Christ. The SAG-AFTRA Strike. This was the voice actors union. They went on strike, if you recall, around this time last year.
Yep. It's been about a year.
They were wanting a whole bunch of different demands, including royalties, better health provisions, more ideas of what they're working on. That was the most reasonable of their demands, in my opinion. Hey, tell us what the fuck we're actually recording voice for, because apparently they weren't even told what the game was, what their actors were. They were just told, read these lines.
Yeah.
The strike has tentatively ended. Kind of. Let me pull up the SAG-AFTRA website here. SAG-AFTRA reaches tentative agreement to end the video game strike. They've reached an agreement to end the video game strike against 11 video game companies that has been waged since October 21st, 2016. So almost a month, it seems. Or a year, rather, it seems. The new terms of a tentative agreement, which were reached early Saturday morning, are the following. They include a new bonus structure that provides an additional payments to performers. And this bonus payment, which is due no later than the release of the game, is based on the number of sessions worked on each game, beginning with a $75 payment on the first session and totaling $2,100 after 10 sessions worked. This deal also contains an employer commitment to continue working with SAG-AFTRA on the issue of vocal stress during the term of the agreement. So there are two things out the gate here that I want to mention. One, if the new bonus structure is due no later than the release of the game. It can't be based on how many copies that game sells.
Yep. Which is one of the big things, that they wanted a little bit of a cut based on the overall game sales, and they definitely did not get that.
Yeah, they definitely did not get that. 2, the deal also contains a deployment commitment to continue working. In other words, nothing. They got nothing related to the health of the voice actors.
Mm-hmm.
They said, we will revisit this conversation at another time. Some, I guess, good things for the union is that the agreement does not include several proposals sought by management, including a provision that would have fined performers for being late or distracted at a session, another that would have required agents to submit performers for low-paying atmospheric voice sessions or face fines, and a possible revocation of their union franchise, and that another would have allowed employers to use their permanent staff to do covered work outside the collective bargaining agreement. This is essentially saying that a lot of the things that the publishers were trying to force on the union didn't go through either.
Yep.
So it seems like only the bare bones of what has happened.
Things are more or less staying the same. They're not getting worse, and they're only getting marginally better.
Yeah. One thing that I do think is a win, if you can call it, is that companies will disclose the codename of a project, which genre the game is, and whether the game is part of a larger franchise if the actor is reprising the role in said franchise. Members
That's
are
helpful.
Yeah, well, I'll get into that's not necessarily all that great here in a second, though. Members are also protected by a disclosure of whether they'll be required to use unusual terminology, profanity, or racial slurs, whether there'll be a content of a sexual or violent nature, and whether stunts will be required. This new contract will be reviewed by the SAG-AFTRA National Board during an October meeting. So it hasn't been ratified yet, but the general tenor on Twitter from multiple voice actors seems to be, hey, we did it, the strike's ending. This sounds like they were not winning on this, in my opinion. There's a bunch
they wanted to.
Yeah, there's not a bunch of good things coming out of this from my admittedly limited point of view. One, the health issue was just not addressed at all. And that was like one of their biggest things they were ramming home. If you go look back at the original strike manifesto, they were just flat out saying they are putting our actors' health at risk, and the best they offered was more tea and honey. So that hasn't even been addressed. We went over the bonus payments. If they're due at the game's launches, it's clearly not based on how many copies something sells.
Yeah, and their demands for that, they wanted compensation based on every 2 million copies sold, with a cap at 8 million, like every 2 million up to 8, so like 4 potential bonuses is what they were shooting for originally. Yeah. And it looks like they got no bonuses whatsoever.
They had that $2,100 performance bonus, but I don't know what the details of that are. As far as role information, sure, they get a little bit. If they've played the role before, they'll be told, hey, it's a role that you played before. They'll be told, hey, it's a popular game franchise, or there's been other games of this franchise. But they're still only given code names. They're not actually given the title of anything. It doesn't sound like they're going to be really giving any more information besides just the bare basics of what's going on. It still sounds like they're in the dark about it. One good thing is they'll be told, like, hey, your character gets raped in this game, so that will be disclosed out. Awesome, cool, totally fine with that. But it still seems like a lot of mystery involved in that too. So what did they win?
Their jobs back?
That's the only thing I can think of, right? Is that I'm reminded of that South Park episode when Canada goes on strike. And at the end, the Prime Minister is like, we did it, we won. I got us $50 gift cards to Applebee's. That's what this feels like to me. Now, if I'm wrong, please let me know. I am not an expert on this by any stretch of the imagination. But it feels like the people cheering this as a victory are cheering this as a victory because they really can't say this is a defeat. Because that looks bad for them.
Yeah. Well, and we talked about it 9 months ago, how much steam they had lost almost immediately, and the fact that no one was talking about it at all.
Yeah.
For the last 6 months, we haven't even mentioned this. Because there's been no news on it.
Yeah, this news was announced like 4 or 5 hours ago, and I only saw one major publication talking about it.
Yeah, it's just no one cares. Either no one cares about the voice actors, or their entire strike wasn't visual enough, or what we talked about in the first place. The game companies just went in another direction and didn't care.
You know what?
Life is Strange prequel has a different voice actress. The Resident Evil 2 remake has a different voice actress. The companies that make the games didn't even notice. It didn't even phase them. They had no reason to slow down, stop, reschedule, do anything.
And
that's the problem. Is their argument had no agency.
Yeah,
like,
I'm pretty anti. God,
they just didn't have enough to stand on. Is the problem.
I'm pretty anti-union to begin with, but in this case, I remember reading that what they were wanting, and I was like, yeah, all this seems fucking reasonable to me.
Yeah, totally reasonable. We were both on the side of the voice actors, but the problem is that the game companies just didn't notice. They don't care. There's too many people that are willing to do the work without complaining.
And a lot of, you go on Twitter, you check out like DC Douglas and Ashley Birch and a lot of these other bigger voice actors, and they all seem ecstatic about this. They're like, hey, yeah, we fucking won, it's over. And I'm like, okay, please explain to me what exactly you got, because I could be missing something here. There could be just something I am completely missing.
Yeah, or we just don't know enough details.
Yeah,
and there's something in here that's huge for them, and this is a giant win, and we just don't know. But based on the information that we have available right now, it just doesn't seem like that much. Not based on what they were demanding originally.
Yeah.
Or I wouldn't even call them demands. They were more like requests.
Well, when you go to strike over something, that's a demand.
I understand that, but I just meant the severity of what they were asking for didn't feel like demands.
Yeah, it's not like they were asking for like 10% of the gross and top billing on the cover of The Last of Us or anything like that.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. This I understand that they can't come out and bash it, but I don't know if they're genuinely happy with this or not. Just from the outside looking in, it looks like a raw deal that they got. And we'll see if we have more think pieces or hot takes come out over the next day or two for people who are more ingrained specifically in the labor union side of things. But until then,
we'll basically just have to watch all the voice actors' Twitters, because I doubt any major publication is going to say shit about it.
Yeah.
That's the downside.
We'll see how it shakes out, but in my opinion, this is not a win for them. This is them kind of capitulating and being thrown a bone. This is their $50 Applebee's gift card. I could be wrong. Could have been what you guys were after this entire time.
Maybe it's a $3,000 Applebee's gift card.
It could be.
Maybe they only eat at Applebee's.
You know how much you can get at Applebee's for $3,000?
Shit tons of diarrhea.
Fair enough.
And
David,
some mixed drinks that are kind of watered down.
Why don't you go ahead and lead us into the next story here? Oh, real quick before that, if anyone is watching this that happens to know more about the details of this SAG-AFTRA thing, and if somehow a random voice actor is watching this, I doubt it, and you are against this, please let us know. You can email me at GamePointsPC@gmail.com, and I will keep your identity secret. But
we would like to know more.
Yeah, please.
I will subscribe to your newsletter.
I am absolutely confused.
We've actually been talking about this shit for like a year. We want to know.
Yeah, I'm so confused about what seems to be joy of this result, but I don't get it. Anyways, next topic, David.
Dude, let's talk about Left Alive and how fucking good that shit looks.
Oh my god.
A little bit of TGS news. Square Enix obviously was at Tokyo Game Show, which is also called DGS. So various things came out of that, but obviously the most important part is Square Enix announced a survival action shooter, which is set in the Front Mission universe. It takes place chronologically between Front Mission 5 and Front Mission Evolved. Front Mission being a fucking amazing game series that hasn't had a game in way too long. The character designs are done by Yoji Shinkawa, who's the character designer for the Metal Gear Solid franchise.
Very clear that it's him, too, on the cover art for Front Mission.
Dude,
it looks like a Metal Gear cover.
It fucking does.
In fact, I'll try to find it while you keep going.
Work is also done from Toshifumi Nabeshima, who was the director of the Armored Core series, a game series that I would love to see come back because I loved those games. And while I love Dark Souls more, I still would like to see it come back, as much as that's not going to happen. But maybe I'll get this instead. Finally, we have Takayuki Yanase, who is a mech designer for Ghost in the Shell Arise, Mobile Suit Gundam, Xenoblade Chronicles, all kinds of stuff. We don't know too much about the game yet, other than the fact that it's going to be on PS4 and PC in 2018. And it will most likely have giant robots in it, have a super bomb story, and look awesome.
The Real Pie Master in chat, referencing the previous topic about the strike, says he has spoken with one of them, had a personal interview with one of the voice actors. It was not a $25 gift card to Applebee's. It was a $50 Panera good card.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah, I mean, that's That's bad. That's
They don't
maybe
even
two
have
slices of bread.
they don't even have booze there.
They don't have
Man.
booze. What kind of fucked up place is that? So
Yeah,
I
dude.
did find some artwork. I'm going to do this for a slap. I'm just going to slap this in chat, so it's going to cover your face here.
Oh, perfect. That's what I like.
There is the Left Alive promo art right there. Clearly,
It looks really good. It looks much better than me.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, they could have showed this without that title on there, and I would be convinced it was a new Metal Gear game. So awesome!
don't need
I
to
am
talk about Konami.
really
Fuck
looking
those guys.
forward to this. All right, so we have a couple more news stories we need to get through before we wrap things up, and let's go ahead and talk about something that we kind of touched on last week, and that is about Steam and review bombing. So,
angry internet.
yeah, remember when PewDiePie said the N-word?
Which time? Ha!
Fair enough.
That guy's a
Anyways, he kicked off kind of a controversy that was only exacerbated when one of the heads at Campo Santo said, "We're filing a DMCA against you because you used a naughty word in a game that wasn't even related to ours," which I think was a bullshit move from their part. And that in turn pissed off PewDiePie fans, and they started review bombing Firewatch. And since Campo Santo are kind of media darlings, this wakened the games journalism behemoth finally from their slumber about the idea of review bombings, because it was one of their buddies that was getting the shitty end of the stick this time. And a whole bunch of pieces came out about, hey, review bombing is bullshit. It's a bunch of white misogynists, racists using it to drive out good SJW developers, and they really got hard into that crap about review bombing. And it has caused Steam to actually take action on the topic of review bombing.
This is by far the biggest part of this story. Steam takes action is a big enough of a headline that I'm not sure why it wasn't on the cover of like Time magazine.
Yeah,
Because when the shit is the last time they did anything about anything besides roll around in barrels of money?
Fair enough. On one of the Steam blog posts that they put up right here, it's big. I'm going to kind of cut to the meat right here. This post goes into detailed conversations at Valve about this practice, and that they understand there's a lot of times people review bomb, not because of a game, but because they're pissed off about something a developer did outside of the game. This is what we talked about last week, I believe it was called, when I said, hey, don't make shit up about Firewatch. Judge Firewatch on its own. Don't fucking give Firewatch a 0 out of 10 because you say DMCA strikes suck. Give it a 3 out of 10 because you think the ending was fucking trash. Don't go out making shit up when there's plenty to criticize Firewatch over. Full disclosure, I actually reviewed the game as a 9 out of 10, and I can kind of the longer I think about that game, the more I regret that review. They came up, they were spitballing a bunch of ideas. One of them that I kind of thought was cool was they would put in something kind of like what the stock market does. When they see prices just drop dramatically, the stock market shuts down and freezes everything for 24 hours. But then they said, no, because video game sales happen so much, like most of those sales happen within the first 24 hours, that doesn't really serve the customer. So their solution is the following. In the end, we decided not to change the ways players can review games, and instead focus on how potential purchasers can explore that review data. Starting today, each game page now contains a histogram of positive to negative ratio of reviews over the entire lifetime of the game. And by clicking on any part of the histogram, you're able to read a sample of reviews from that time period. As a potential purchaser, it's easy to spot temporary distortions in reviews, to investigate why that distortion occurred, and to decide for yourself whether it's something you care about. This approach has the advantage of never preventing anyone from submitting a review, but does require slightly more effort on the part of potential purchases. I fucking love it. We'll see if I can bring up an example on here. By the way, Nova USA, I see you. What's up? Let's go ahead and go to the Firewatch page here. Let's click on their reviews, and let's see if I can't bring up this histogram. Here it is right here. As you can see, it is a straight up chart that gives you the entire life of the game. When it first came out, extremely high positive reviews compared to little negatives. Negatives kind of go away. You can see the occasional positive spike. I can only imagine coinciding with sales through Steam or Humble Bundle sales, whatever. And then they have like this block right here of the past month. And as you can see, I bet you can't guess what day that Campo Santo sent the DMC strike against PewDiePie.
Yeah, dude, you can find it. It's right in there.
Yeah, I love this. They're not taking any information out. They're not they're not getting rid of review bombs, because honestly, I think that is one of the few ways a customer can actually express dissatisfaction with the way a company is handling business. It's one of the few options we have available to us. But it lets people who are actually interested in buying the game kind of see, okay, what the fuck happened here that pissed so many people off? It could be some bullshit like what Firewatch devs Campo Santo did. It could be Fallout 4's introduction of the Creation Club, or it could have just been a really shitty pants.
Got him! Oh, man, Nova.
Got me, Nova! It could just be a really shitty
game like fucking Arkham Origin and just release as a buggy, horrible mess, and that's why it's got bad reviews, because they never bothered to fix it.
Yeah.
That was so funny.
That's funny. I'm going to have to time you out at this point, though.
Damn, what an asshole.
Yeah, well done, though.
That's fucked up, bro.
Oh, yes. Shitty patch. That could have just completely changed everything around. That requires you to have actually been watching the Twitch live chat to fully get if you're watching this at a later time.
He doesn't know how to talk and read, folks.
No, I don't.
GamePoints. A weekly get together where Steven makes an ass out of himself.
Exactly. I like it. I like this setup. It's not taking anything away from the customer advocacy side of things, but it's also letting people kind of get an idea of, hey, this is what people are pissed off about, or there could be like an abnormality to just like, nah, I don't care that Campo Santo fired a DMCA strike. I want to play the game. So this is great. More information is always better than taking it away.
Or what I'm going to like doing is looking back when certain patches came out and people got super pissed at the game, and then following to when they actually patched it to make it fixed. I'd be really curious to see what a review score graph looks like for like Diablo 3.
Yeah, see, when like patches came out, kind of compare the data between the two, or if they changed or removed something, or to see the number of positive mentions that went up once they took out the real money auction house.
Yeah.
Like I said, I like this. This is good. This is more information. This is always handy.
Better than it was. Thanks, Steam.
Absolutely.
Something I haven't said in a very, very long time.
David, why don't you go ahead and take us home with the last news story of this week?
Oh, let's talk about a game that you don't play on a video machine, but you play with your friends in person. A board game. Steamforge Games Limited, the guys that made the Dark Souls board game that came out earlier in the year, that was actually pretty damn good, recently put out a Kickstarter for the Resident Evil 2 board game that they've been talking about. It's another miniature-style game where you're actually going and exploring Raccoon City. 4-player co-op. Things are going to kill you. It looks pretty interesting. The big thing that we're talking about is the fact that it came out today, and it pretty immediately hit its goal. I think it was less than an hour or so before it hit its $200,000 goal. And so, yeah, Resident Evil 2 board game is probably coming to you sometime next year. If you're interested in this kind of thing, the Dark Souls board game is one of the few things that I've actually kickstarted that was successful. So I like these guys as of right now, but we'll see. Never know what's coming out. Kickstarter is always a fucking crapshoot, so it could go anywhere.
Yeah, I agree. But for board games, it tends to be pretty solid. For those of you who don't know, the guys who are developing this are the guys who did the Dark Souls game, by the way. Did you mention that?
Yeah, Steamforge Limited, the guys that made the Dark Souls
So I just want to make sure that
it's like the first thing I said. It's like you don't listen to me.
No, absolutely not. You just kind of babble on.
Are your headphones broken too?
Yes, all the time.
All right, cool.
I'm looking forward to it. I think the Dark Souls board game was pretty solid, albeit it has a lot of mechanical problems to it. I like where they were going with it, though. I'm really hoping that this hammers out a lot of those issues, kind of just makes it a far more smooth experience across the board, because it really does seem to be using almost the same mechanics, especially if you can like look at their.
It's gonna be similar for sure, but with different like guns and reload mechanics and all kinds of other stuff. What's funny is they also have a little add-on box that you can get that makes it so all of the cards and icons are literally in the old school like PlayStation font and color scheme, which I find really entertaining. But yeah, that's we need to get a board game on. That's a thing that's coming out.
Take a look at it. Hit its goal within 1 hour, so we'll definitely see how it shakes out. Real Pie Master chat says they need a Divinity Original Sin role-playing board games. I don't care if 300 people buy it, but it would make board game players so happy.
I'm so into that plan. Original Sin is fantastic.
I have no idea how they could make a board game out of that. But they're making one out of Fallout, I guess. So, I mean, shit. Probably
Well, the problem is that they kind of already made something out of Original Sin, sort of. It's called Dungeons and Dragons. It's like the closest thing I could think of, right? But something actually built in the universe, like maybe some kind of just game system built in, like all of their lore with all of their classes and all of their races. And
I mean, shit, I'm sure you can find like a GURPS of it or something.
A GURPS?
Don't worry about it if you don't know what it is.
All right, I'm not worried about it.
Anyways, Resident Evil 2 board game looks like it's going to be coming relatively soon, actually. It sounds like they have everything in place already. They just need the money to start producing shit. But that's not going to be
It's going to be
for a while.
sometime next year, most likely. Like an actual year from now, September, October next year, I'd say.
That's nowhere near right now, though. What if I want to play something today, David? What is coming out this week that I can go ahead and get my hands on?
Oh, new releases. So the big one to, I guess, really nerdy people that's coming out this week is Danganronpa V3 Killing Harmony for PC, PS4, and Vita. The sequel to Danganronpa, V1 and V2. I don't know exactly who's going to buy it, but I know these games are popular. They're visual novel action style games. It has the same gameplay that the first two games did. You basically play through like your school life and trial segments. You're trying to solve murders, but it's also like a social adventure game. There's the debate system in there. You try and tell if people are lying or telling the truth. It's a visual novel adventure, mystery, whodunit, murder with a giant evil teddy bear thing that looks pretty cool.
It's an over-the-top visual novel, which explains why it's on Vita, because that's kind of really the only things that come out on Vita these days. It's solid.
Came out Japan earlier this year, and it's just been translated by Nice America. So.
It has a major cult following. So if you're interested in it, I think you can find it on Steam, the first one on Steam for relatively cheap. But take a look at it, see if it's your cup of tea.
Yep. Also coming out this week, Bethesda doing what they do best and re-releasing a game that's already out. Fallout 4 Game of the Year Edition is coming out for Xbox One, PS4, and PC. So that's, if you need to play Fallout 4 again, or if you somehow haven't, you can do that. Also coming out, we have Hob for PS4 and PC. That is a adventure game. It's very colorful, very vibrant. You play through while you're trying to solve puzzles, transform the whole planet. I don't know too much about it, but it looks all right if you're interested in colorful adventure games.
It's made by the same guy who's the you mentioned that, right? Torchlight.
Oh yes, the Torchlight guys. I didn't mention that. Sorry.
Yeah, it's made by the same guys who did Torchlight. So,
but it's not Torchlight 3, so I'm slightly less interested in it. Also coming out, we have Raid World War II for PC. It's an action-packed 4-player co-op shooter.
It's a cash grab for Call of Duty World War II.
Pretty much, yeah. It's like one of those straight-to-Netflix movies that comes out at the same time as a big movie, like Atlantic Rim or... Yeah, exactly.
Transmorphers.
Transmorphers is fantastic.
I think there was Spider Dude once.
Predator and Alien, whatever the shit they call
Predator
those games.
versus Alien.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
No, Hunter versus Alien. That's what it was.
Hunter. That's good. All right. A game I'm actually looking forward to for this week is a game called Ruiner, being released by Devolver Digital. I'm a fan of pretty much everything they do.
Combat looks really goddamn smooth in it.
Yeah, it's an action shooter set in 2091, so it's cyberpunk as F. It looks like kind of a classic twin-stick shooter, but very, very stylish. You're hunting for your kidnapped brother with the help of a secret hacker friend. It looks like kind of a classic twin-stick shooter, but from Devolver Digital, so it'll probably be pretty damn quality. A game that you are super excited for this week comes out. That is Total War Warhammer 2, the sequel to the kind of surprise hit of Total War Warhammer. I think people knew that it was going to do all right, but it did better than a lot of people thought. It is a Total War game set in the Games Workshop Warhammer Fantasy universe. In this game, you can play as Lizardmen, High Elves, Dark Elves, and Skaven, which I think are the rat people.
Rat people. You're familiar with Skaven because you played Vermintide.
All right, yeah.
It's those guys. The rat people.
And if you own the first game and you have the races from the first game, those will actually be unlocked for you in the second game just by owning the first one. And there'll be like extra campaign maps and all kinds of other cool stuff.
Additionally, as the months go on, they're going to release a massive grand campaign combining both games together in both maps. So it looks really cool. I'm excited for it.
Yep. A game that should have come out a long damn time ago, Cuphead, is finally releasing for Xbox One and PC. This is a Windows Play Anywhere title, so I think You buy it on one, you get it on both, right? Isn't that how that works?
I don't know if that's the case with this one or not, but I believe that is what Play Anywhere works. I haven't done any research into it.
All right, that's fair.
I just know it's for Dark. I know it's for Dark Souls of platformers though.
God damn it! I knew you were gonna bring that back, you asshole. But it's a run-and-gun platform indie game by Studio MDHR. It looks like an old school 1930s cartoon, like Steamboat Willie, really, really old school, like Looney Tunes, stuff like that. You fight a series of bosses in order to repay a debt to the devil.
This was going to be released a long time ago, but when people found out it was only boss rush, I think they went back to the drawing board to expand out the game to actually be like
slightly more
levels
than
and platformers.
just
Boss
slightly
rush.
more than just boss rush. But there's a lot of bosses. That's kind of how it goes. You have infinite lives. Your weapons switch every single time you die, and you just kind of keep going through and go through branching levels and fight different bosses.
I don't think this is going to do as good as people think it's going to.
No, if it had come out 9 months ago, it might have.
Yeah.
But not now. Not when we're getting into the big game cycle. For example, you could also be playing the Call of Duty World War II beta on PC this week. I don't think I really need to explain to anybody what Call of Duty World War II is. It's the new Call of Duty. They went back in time.
No idea if it's open beta or not. I think this is for pre-orders only. I should have researched that. I didn't think about that until just now. So
That's okay.
sorry.
I'm not going to pay too much attention to it. I'll look at it when it's out. I'm assuming it's going to play like most Call of Duties have played for the last 12 years.
Yeah.
We'll see. They might have a cool single-player campaign.
I will probably actually get this Call of Duty for that single-player campaign.
Maybe you rip a knife out of yourself and throw it in some other dude's eye. We can only hope. FIFA 2018 comes out this week for PC, PS4, Switch, and Xbox One. The best part about this game coming out for me, FIFA obviously does pretty well. Pro Evolution Soccer is its only real competition, I think. And it's a soccer game, so while it doesn't do huge in the States, overseas, it's gangbusters in Europe.
The World War II Call of Duty PC open beta is you just straight up go to their page on Steam and install it.
Oh,
free for everyone.
that's easy.
So I might actually take a look at it.
Cool, but I think the best thing about FIFA 18, I gotta talk about this, is the fact that on Switch, each save that you have for this game takes up 5 gigs. The
Wait,
game
what?
itself takes 12 gigs. So if you install this game and have it on your Switch, because they shipped it on the smallest available cartridge for the Switch, save it twice and you are out of storage on your Nintendo Switch.
Bitch. I didn't know that was the case. That's horrible.
That's hilarious. In case you weren't aware, Switch owners, it's about time to buy an SD card. I'd get the biggest damn one you can find because that thing's got shit for storage. Thanks, Nintendo. And I guess thanks EA for being cheap as shit when making a new FIFA game. They actually do have bigger cartridges. Like, they have a 32 gig cartridge where you could actually fit the whole game on there. But no, it's got like a 12 gig install on your 32 gig console.
Awesome.
So
You know,
great.
that might actually have something to do more with the Switch hardware than the flash card size itself.
It's
They might
possible.
have to physically install stuff on the Switch to get it to run on the Switch.
All right. And I think finally the big thing we got to talk about that's coming out this week, a game that was originally developed 22 years ago. Talk about a delay. Star Fox 2 comes out this week. And by that, of course, I mean the fact that the Super Nintendo Classic Mini releases on Friday. And that has Star Fox 2. You can finally play it. You can play the real game, not that weird demo that came out at like a Gamescom or whatever conference in 1994. This shit's happening.
Yeah.
If you are looking to get one, good luck. I really believe in you.
Yeah. I'm very
I
interested in
have given
seeing
up
how
on it.
the Super Nintendo Classic stocks situation is going to unfold over the weekend.
I'm willing to bet our next episode is going to start with SNES Classic shortages run amok throughout the entire nation. No one can buy it. Everybody's pissed. Nintendo does what they do best.
Now, if that happens, I'll tell you what our next story is going to be. Our next story is going to be Raspberry Pi on sale for Amazon for $59.99.
Also good. Okay, so over-under on SNES Classic eBay orders.
We're
I'm
talking
gonna put it-
average. We're talking average price for brand new, unsealed, and we'll get rid of the outline, like get one for $5, which is clearly a scam. Yes.
Yeah. And like the guys that put it up for $6,300 that they have no chance of getting.
Okay.
I'll give you an over-under. I'm thinking my starting price is going to kind of line up with where I saw the NES Classics about a month in, which is about $250.
Under.
Under $250
Yeah.
for eBay Super Nintendo Classics?
Yeah.
You heard it here first, folks. We'll find out. We will check eBay at our next show. And
that wraps things up for GamePoints episode 106 here, but there is one more thing from chat I want to address. Real Pie Master says, oh no, Call of Duty World War II lets you play a girl, it's ruined. Now, I know that's kind of tongue-in-cheek. I'm pretty sure that you don't actually think it's ruined. I will say this to people complaining about multiplayer letting you play like a black female Nazi, for example. I understand the cries of historical accuracy. I understand that if you're trying to make a campaign in a video game and you want to shoot for historical accuracy, it should be, in fact, accurate. And as such, there would be no black female Nazis in the campaign. On the multiplayer side, I'm a little bit more forgiving because everyone can kind of make whatever custom monster they want and send it out. But even if you feel the multiplayer part is a stretch too far, there are far greater causes to fight back that tide that you see there than putting your energy on this one. This is a stupid thing to pick the hill that you die on. This is a stupid hill to die on. Find something a little bit more meaningful to go forth and fight, because that's dumb. Anyways, just wanted to address that last bit in chat because I know that was a thing there for a little bit. This has been GamePoints episode 106.
Whoa, dude, are we just not going to talk about Counter-Strike? I thought we agreed that we were going to talk about Counter-Strike Global Offensive and the fact that it is kind of the poster boy for toxic video game communities. Was that this week or next week?
I mean, hey, we have evidence of that in the chat earlier today, so it's amazing what a block and mute button can do.
Have you managed to play that game and kill somebody without getting called a hacker or a noob?
I haven't played that game I haven't played that since 1.6.
All right.
Back when LAN parties existed, and I physically had to take my rig over to someone else's house, and it was like 12 of us in the front room of some kid's house.
Well, that's just Counter-Strike. I'm talking about Go, which came out in 2012.
Never played CS:GO. The last time I played anything CS related was 1.6.
Which was the last good one, and that, folks, is GamePoints episode 106.
Thank you for watching. If you are watching us live, we do stream here every Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time here at Twitch TV/GamePoints. We always appreciate chat interaction, good or bad, when it comes down to it. I mean, shit, I laughed at the trolling that we got a little bit earlier. Feel free to join us and in the conversation as well. I do try to adjust topics when they pop up. But if you can't join us live, feel free to check out our previous episodes at YouTube. Just type in GamePoints one word and we pop right up there. Regardless of where you're at, please like, follow, subscribe, hell, dislike, comment, ask questions, or whatever you want. We try to get to them when we can. If you want to follow the show on Twitter, you can do so at GamePoints PC. You can follow myself at CapitalistPig21, and you can follow David over there at PalShop_Story. Until next week, this has been GamePoints. Thank you for watching. We're out of here.